It's the Defyant Ones right now. We got a guy who's coming back to Defy, man, and it's special because it's a homecoming for him. Jordan Oasis, welcome back, man.
Oh, thanks, man. It's a pleasure.
So let's go back to your history with Defy and Northwest Wrestling. So were you born and raised in the Northwest?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Tacoma, Washington, and just a few years ago I moved out to Vegas.
That's cool, man.
I'm there for now.
So how young were you when wrestling came into your life?
Ooh, I believe it was ironically, right after WrestleMania 19.
Okay.
And I remember my parents were like laughing that I stumbled upon it because they had just left Seattle because they were at Safeco at the time.
Oh,
yeah. They were at Safeco for WrestleMania 19, and I think I discovered it in like the summer of that would be 2003. So I was
there. That was a fun one.
Oh yeah, dude. I went back and watched it.
Kurt.
Yeah, I went back and watched it as I got older. So I was like going on 6. So I was 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I was really young.
Did you get obsessed?
Oh yeah. I remember I came home and like my parents had like all these wrestling figures for me ready and like all that. It was like Attitude Era stuff. It was like Mankind and like all this. It was set up on a chair, and I was like, I started playing with them. Yeah, it was really cool.
Awesome. And did you get like into the video games and
of
everything?
Course,
okay.
Of course.
What was your game?
Ooh.
Here Comes the Pain.
See, a lot of people say Here Comes the Pain. There was, I think so. My dad had a lot of video game consoles, like older ones, like Sega Genesis and all that stuff. I think the first wrestling game I remember playing was WWF Royal Rumble 2000. I think it was on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
and I think there was like a lot of similarities with Here Comes the Pain and stuff like that. I remember like going around. But if you're like top 3 though, WrestleMania 19, the game, really good.
WrestleMania 19
was really good. There was like they had this whole like backstage thing.
Okay.
They had like bosses and stuff you had to fight. It was really cool. And then there's a game called Crush Hour, which was like WWE or WWE meets Twisted Metal.
Okay.
Really freaking awesome. And then I think SmackDown versus Raw 2011.
All right.
06 is a close second, but 2011 had some backstage stuff you can kind of free wander and stuff.
Do you still play the games? Do you stay current?
Somewhat. Honestly, after 2K14, to me, it kind of went downhill.
Sure.
I did buy the John Cena edition. I think it was 2K23.
Okay.
I did buy that though.
Okay.
I did do that.
Who was your guy when you were a kid? Who was like I'm all about this wrestler?
John Cena's in there for sure.
Okay.
But the people that really got me like into it at first were the Hardys.
Okay.
The Hardys, yeah. Jeff Hardy doing all this crazy stuff and Matt
Vandergriff was just talking about his love of Jeff Hardy.
I don't like that Matt. I like Matt Hardy.
There we go.
But yeah, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, seeing them. I had like an old VHS. Because I'm still old enough to know what VHSs are. But yeah, I had an old VHS. It was called Hardy Boys Leap of Faith, and I've used to watch that thing all the time. Yeah, it was really cool seeing Jeff Hardy make volcanoes in his backyard and jump it. And
that's so cool, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So were you backyard trampoline wrestling or?
Kind of like my childhood best friend. He had like a pool. We did have a trampoline at one point, but the springs got stretched out, so we threw it away. But yeah, a lot of pool stuff, and we'd wrestle in his garage and use ladders and all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
So how old were you when you realized that you could train to be a wrestler, and where did you start in the Northwest? So
I remember I used to help out at church, running sound and stuff like that, and so. When he was talking and stuff and saying the sermon, I would be back there on the computer and I'm just looking at wrestling schools and everything's on the East Coast at the time. And I remember I was like 14. I was about to be a freshman in high school, and I emailed the Dudley Boys down in Florida at the time, and I got a response back, and they said, "Oh, unfortunately, you have to be 18." So I had this whole plan. I was going to go to MCW over in Maryland, or I was going to go to Florida when I turned 18.
Throw Leo Rush?
Yeah. A lot of great people came out of there. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I'm 14.
Yeah.
And I'm sending out emails and stuff. Well, fast forward, I discovered this place called Lucha Libre Volcanica.
Yeah.
And I just, 16, and right after I turned 17, like a week after, my mom got me my first pair of wrestling shoes and was like, I'm going to pay for your training.
That's awesome.
So I started at 17. I'm turning 27 in October. So it's going on 10 years.
So, this is the first mention of Lucha Libre Volcanica. Right?
Volcanica. Yeah.
But I'm very familiar with it, and tell me about training Lucha Libre at 17 years old.
Yeah, so it was crazy. I was a little bit hefty. I was kind of a chubby kid, and I did martial arts when I was younger, and I did jiu-jitsu a little bit, and then I did football. And football was a lineman. So, if you're going to be a lineman, you got to be a little stocky, But I found that, and so I was trying to move around, and I had some, I've always been somewhat athletic and agile, so that kind of stuff kind of came easy, but Lucha Libre is a completely different style. So being 6 foot and having to do springboards and all this stuff, wasn't exactly my forte. So, I was just basing a lot of people, which is still a great thing. It's a great asset to have in your toolbox. But yeah, it was really cool. And then about 3 years later, that's when I found the Buddy Wayne Academy and started learning American style.
So did you ever wear a mask? Or
I did.
Okay.
I did. My first name was Guerrero Nocturno. My accent's not the best, but Guerrero Nocturno, which is loose translation, Night Warrior. I had this dark gimmick, and I had a mask and everything, and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I had a mask versus mask match. I lost my mask, and then I came back as Guerrero de Neon, which is Neon Warrior, so complete opposite. Okay. I was wearing I painted my face, heavily inspired by Jeff Hardy, and I painted my face, wore all these loud colors, and then I kind of went a rave direction with it, and I had the candy bracelets and all this light up stuff, and that was really cool. And then there came Jordan Oasis circa 2018. Something like
Shout out to my friend Steelman. He's the reason that I know about Lucha Libre Volcanica, and he trained there, and he was an announcer. Steelman. So
yep. Fun fact: I had his last match with him.
Really?
Yep.
That's awesome.
I believe I was his last match, and I took his mask. Yeah, I still have it.
When we were in high school, we used to just get drunk and wrestle people in front of people, and wrestle each other in front of people. It was probably not pretty, but that's my fun fact there.
Oh, that's awesome.
At parties and stuff. So tell me about training at Buddy Wayne Academy. And did you get to meet Buddy?
So I did get to meet Buddy. I met him. So he was a huge supporter of Lucha Libre, and he loved talking to Profe Jose Gomez from Lucha Libre Volcanica. And they talked, and he would always encourage his students at the time to come to Volcanica and train. Because he just had a high respect for it.
And it's nice to learn the different styles.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Get proficient.
And he stopped by Volcanica a couple times. I met him, and there were shows over in Yakima at the time, so there was a mix of both of our schools.
Yeah.
And so I saw him a lot, and I told him I wanted to start training, and there was a certain amount of money you need to have for that, of course. And unfortunately, he passed away, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen to the school. So this is back in 2017. And I was like, well, there goes me trying to learn American. I'm just gonna have to do lucha and then eventually move somewhere else to school or whatever. And I'm very grateful for Shayna Wayne. I know she's just the worst person on TV. Yeah, she's the worst person on TV ever. Super diabolical and stuff. But I'm very grateful for her. Because I feel like she kind of took a risk on me, because at that point they weren't sure what was going to happen, and I was the first student that they took in after they passed, and I didn't take that lightly at all. And so I was like, okay, it took me another month or two to get the money for it, and I did, and I started training there in November of 2017, and I'm so thankful for that school,
That's incredible.
and all the students, because the students were very close with Buddy. And they had a really good relationship, and they didn't have to let me be there, and even if I did start going, they didn't have to be nice. They didn't have to you know what I mean?
An awkward situation.
Yeah,
But they brought you into the family.
Yes, and I'm grateful for everybody, all the OGs there, and Shayna Wayne.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So tell me about your experience with DEFY. So were you pretty young, were you helping with the ring crew, or did you come in as did you help out around the ring, or were you a wrestler by the time DEFY started?
So I was a wrestler. I think when did DEFY start? 2017, 18-ish? 17, 18-ish? Well, ballpark that.
2016.
2016?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I started back half of 2016, right? I think so. So I think I started helping out at like the second or third ever Defy show.
Yeah.
I just remember it was like Shane Strickland, Swerve versus Cody Rhodes at the time. Cody Rhodes was like ROH champion, like he was just doing his run, and I was helping out with ring crew at first and doing security spots and stuff, and then I kind of built a good relationship with the talent, and so then they were starting to like pick. I remember there was a couple times where like Strickland and Brody King, they would like come over to me specifically and be like, hey, like, can you be over here for this? And I was like, that was kind of cool that people were starting to like trust me on that level, and I was like, okay, like that's nice. And then it was just constant work on myself as a performer, but also like showing that I could be dependable whenever I was around and stuff. So I did that for about 2.5 years, and then I finally got a shot and was on the show and stuff.
Hell yeah. So you moved down to Vegas. What made you want to move down there?
So going back to Shane Strickland and Cody Rhodes. Yeah. There was a moment, there was a Defy show down in Tacoma. It might have been 2 or 3. And I got the chance. Cody's he's so nice. He's so not like, he's a good man. And
it's not just a character.
No, it's not. It's not. He's like, that's who he is. And I'm sure like one day, hopefully I can share a locker room with him and stuff. But yeah, I had a mark out moment and asked to take a picture with the title, which I still have with the ROH title and stuff. But he just like, he invited me in. He had his own like kind of little spot, and he invited me in, and he just gave me so much advice. And he told me to just keep getting reps. And then I did a Strickland seminar that was before a Defy show that went till like 2 a.m. And his best advice that he gave me was to go to a hub. So for him, that I believe he did CCW for a while, but for him that was like Maryland-ish area because he could just drive everywhere. Yeah. And so fast forward when I was older and like old enough to kind of do stuff by my own and kind of venture out, I was like, well, where can I go? And I was thinking about San Diego. And I talked to a couple people, and Vegas just ended up being where it was. I can hit LA, I can hit San Diego, I can hit Phoenix, I can hit located, I can just go everywhere. It's cheap to fly in and out of, take the buses, you know, whatever it is. So that was the main focus or deciding factor of moving to Vegas was that hub.
And you guys have a pretty good team, like FSW, right? Future
Stars of Wrestling. I would say that's probably one of the top promotions out there. And there's some other stuff. There's Pride Style. There's Grap House. There's all these other promotions that are there. And and then LA's like 4.5-ish, 4-hour drive. It's really convenient. It is.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So coming back to Defy, man, what's that mean? You got the you got the welcome back chant. Yeah. What did that mean, man? I didn't expect it, you know, like you hear the this is awesome and both these guys and all that stuff, but like to get the welcome back chant, that was cool. Like that was special for me because I've really been busting my ass and like trying to take it to another level the past like 2-ish years or so, especially within the last year. And so to like come back after like 2 years, maybe 2.5 or something like that. And like the last time I was here, my stuff got stolen. Someone broke into my car and like, you know, and I had to wrestle in like makeshift gear, you know, whatever it was. And that was kind of like the last you saw me, you know? And so to come back and like everybody could tell there was a change. Yeah. I felt like it was kind of almost an appreciation of like good, like we're proud of you. You know, awesome. So I'm one of our own.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that's really cool. I always I'm always repping Tacoma all the time.
That's awesome.
You know, so I hold Defy dear to my heart. Yeah.
So we obviously, you know, the Defy crowd, we call it the Defiance.
Yep.
What does the Defiance mean to you, Jordan?
The Defiance I was a part of. Yeah. You know, I was watching the shows, and then I, you know, was doing ring crew, and then I was doing security, and like I feel like there's a close bond there. You know. But since it had been so long, I forgot how. Can I cuss? Yeah. I forgot how fucking loud they are. Like they're insane, dude. And I forgot. And then the show started, and everyone starts getting hyped when they first hear the music, you know. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is. And then I walked out, and I didn't know what I was gonna get. I expected people to not really remember me or like know. And then it was just this huge reaction, and then the welcome back chant. It was overwhelming. Like the Defiance is so sick. Like I missed you guys.
Yeah, dude. I'll say it, man. Welcome back, Jordan Oasis. Thank you, bro.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Nice talking to you, man.
Where can people follow you on social media?
So on Twitter, because it's still fucking Twitter, dude. Like, on Twitter,
It's the Jordan Oasis, and then on Instagram it is just Jordan Oasis. I think I deactivated my Facebook because I don't really use it, but I might still have my fan page. If so, it's just Jordan Oasis on there. And TikTok, because I'm gonna try to do more stuff on there. I think it's Jordan Oasis or the Jordan Oasis on there. But, yeah.
Right on, man. Yep. Well, we'll welcome you back to Defy soon, and thanks again, man.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's the Defyant Ones.